Perfect timing. Okay. So good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all back in this systemic intelligence check-in session. And it's the last one from this series. So if you have missed any, you've received an email with username and password, and you can log in at the online platform. And there we've put all recordings of the previous meetings, so you can watch them if you want to. And if you have any questions about it, you can just ask them me in the chat, and I will help you. And when Sarah and I were starting this meeting, and we always start like almost an hour earlier and checking in with each other, Sarah asked me, "How are you doing?" And the only answer I could give was, "I feel really confused." And I feel confused for a lot of reasons. But the thing that is most living inside me is the story about this girl from my village who committed suicide a week ago. And this was a girl just like my boys are. She was just a healthy, happy, normal child. And yet she committed suicide. And she just turned 13 2 months ago. And my mind doesn't get it. How can a child who just turned 13 commit suicide? So it really hits me. And each time when I think about it, each time when I talk about it, it feels as if the floor I'm sitting on is not leveled anymore, as if the floor is going like this. And this is a really strange experience in my body. And then when it's finished, I turn back here again. And I think this girl wasn't really depressed. I think this girl was executing the symptoms she was experiencing during because of everything that's happening in our country, everything that's happening in our world. And there are many, many more stories like hers, at least in the Netherlands, in this period of time. So to me, this is really striking. And I think these choices are results of not knowing how to deal with symptoms. And also my own body is acting in a strange way. I went to the gym this morning and my trainer said, we are going to do an exercise that the top athletes of my gym are doing. And we're going to do 10 back squats per minute for 20 minutes. And our best athletes, they take 45 kilos. So that's quite a lot, 200 times 45 kilos. And then we were practicing and he was looking at me and he said, well, I'm going to give you 50 because you're doing too well. And for my body, carrying all this weight was really easy. And I should have been completely exhausted and lying on the floor after those 20 minutes. And I was just like, I'm all right, but my body cannot do this much. So again, that's a different way of, in my opinion, a different way of dealing with the symptoms of what's happening in our systems. Sarah, what are your experiences? You're muted. You need to unmute.
Thanks. As I was listening to Siets sharing this morning, I just felt this incredible echo. It's not the same, but it just felt like an echo across the globe. And I am somebody who, I'm very fit and well and very active. And on the weekend, I was gardening, and then suddenly my back went, and it's not actually my back; it's my sacroiliac joint, which is, I was in a car accident 40 years ago, and this injury, and it's like this injury is aggravated, but in a way I've never experienced before, not even at the time that the accident happened. But when Siets was talking about this feeling, it's like my back feels twisted. It feels like something's twisted inside of me. And so I lay on a Shakti mat to get rid of the pain, and the pain went away and it was really, really good. But then when I stood up and started moving again, it's right back. And so it's interesting, like what's going on systemically, and there is something, you know, in my personal life that I'm working with that seems to have, in some way, it's expressing itself through my body. And again, as I was preparing for today and went to bed last night and said to myself, oh, I wonder what might come up over the evening. And about 3 o'clock, I woke up with this pain around my heart. And the only thing I could think of, because it was started in my back, and but as I tuned in and listened to my body and was really trying to understand what was going on, it's my heart. It's something with my heart. And 14 months ago, I had an aortic spasm, and it was the same sensation. And I went to the hospital and got checked out, and my heart's perfect. There's the arteries are clear, like everything was checked, and my heart is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. So when this sensation, I turned over and I went, okay, I need to decide whether I'm going to ring the ambulance or not. And I really believe that if I ring the ambulance, it'll all be the same again. You know, I'll go to the hospital, they'll do all these tests, I'll spend 3 days there, and it'll be the same. So, okay, what can I do? And then I thought, okay, all I can do is surrender. All I can do is really review my life. And if I'm making this decision not to ring the ambulance, I have to be at peace with that decision. So I just did this sort of life review and went, you know what? If I die in my sleep now, I'm happy. I'm really happy with everything in my life. And so this tremendous, tremendous peace came over me. I fell to sleep. The symptoms all disappeared, and here I am. And so for me, that was something, when I think about systemic work, and, you know, I need to work on my back at this particular point as what do I need to surrender to there? But that, how do I lean into what's actually happening systemically and surrender to what it is that I need to surrender to? So as we were reflecting on this, we thought about, you know, this is what symptoms, and we thought this would be a great question for each of us to reflect on. What symptoms are present without giving any meaning to that? You know, because this is when the left brain kind of jumps in and it wants to make all sorts of meanings, which is great, nothing wrong with that. But if we can start to look at systemic symptoms and be curious and let that curiosity reveal something to us, or not, maybe it's just a matter of acknowledging, like with my heart, it was just a matter of what do I need to surrender to here? So, Siets, anything you'd like to add to our question?
Yeah, I think I'm going to jump in one of the breakout rooms as well, because I think it's so important and meaningful to be able to make the distinction between when something is yours and when something is a symptom, and you're resonating to something, you're responding to something. And of course, depending on your own body and depending on your own stories, it will get a specific shape, it will get a specific story, it will get manifested in a specific way. And yet it's if it's a symptom, it's not yours, and you need to deal with it differently. And we're talking about using your systemic intelligence in these check-in sessions. So the invitation is to just talk about what symptoms are you experiencing without giving meaning to it. So don't do the backstory, just the symptoms themselves. That's the most important part. We'll create breakout rooms with groups of 4. So there might be some difference in the type of symptoms or the way they show themselves, so you get some vocabulary on this subject. Will take 10 minutes, and after 8 minutes I'll send a message that there's 2 minutes left, so you know what to do with the rest of the time. Enjoy yourselves, and we see you in 10 minutes. So we're all back again. Is there anyone who would like to share something about the experience? Some thoughts or ideas? You can just raise your hand. Yeah, Julie.
I just really loved where our conversation went to once we shared the symptoms where we were all sensing around being really tuned into what Sarah was saying about our somatic experience and whether what we're carrying, whether it's ours or whether it's the systems that we're in, and not taking responsibility or too much responsibility for what's not ours in the system. Really allowing ourselves to let go and not hold anything that's not ours to hold. We were talking in a work context that really then allows us to, makes the work in the system much more effortless, and really becomes around trusting what you're experiencing, but knowing you're not holding something that's not yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for saying that, Julie. And when it's a symptom, it's information. It's information about what's going on, even though you might not completely get it, or even though there might be referrals to different interpretations, but it's just information. So you don't need to hold on to it. You can just let it flow out of your body, like you're a membrane, and you receive it through the antenna your body is, and then it goes through the main membrane and it goes out of your body. You don't need to keep it in your cells, because it's not yours. It's information. And once you get sensitive for this kind of information and get sensitive for what's going on in the system, you can rely on your own energy and your own qualities and your own stories and your own everything again. And then you keep standing on your own 2 feet and you don't get swept away by it. Sarah, is there anything you'd like to add?
I think that I just wanted to underline to what you're saying is letting things pass through you, not holding on to them, because that's the, that quality of presence that you always talk about, Siets, staying connected to letting things flow through you, inform you, but not get stuck in you.
Yeah. Yeah. Suzanne, you want to add something?
What I've noticed is how I flow in and out of being connected and present and attuned, and then I go somewhere else, and where I let my attention go, and when that happens, what happens as a result of that, and the consciously bringing yourself back to stay in that open space. I'm still, that's something I'm still working with every day. Like not just noticing. Yeah.
Yeah, just noticing. That's all.
I think it's also a developmental move to let go of meaning making. Because the meaning making is the thing that consolidates it. So. Fran, you need to unmute.
Yes, I guess it's interesting because, for example, Sarah, you felt something, I guess when in your example, when you were saying you felt things in your body and then made a choice about surrender and going to that place of peace. I mean, now that seems like a great example of going, oh, you know, I've got something tight in my heart. It could mean X, Y, Z. It could mean I'm having a heart attack. It could mean I'm having, I'm highly stressed. It could mean all sorts of things. And yet going to that place of surrender and peace really took you to another place, didn't it? So, yeah, I guess it just affirms the message.
Yeah.
So I think it's about time we close this meeting. What do you think, Sarah?
Yeah. 28 past, unless others have things to share. I think we have a couple of things we want to share before we wrap up. So
yeah. So this was the last meeting, the last check-in meeting, but not the last one for this group, because we're going to have a Q&A session in 2 weeks' time. And Q&A session, this means that we'll do probably a little check-in with each other, might be meditation, might be a question, might be a word. We don't know yet because we work in the moment. And we'll use the moment in 2 weeks' time to invite you to bring up your own subjects, your own topics, things that are living in your heart, and we'll work with that just as it happens. If there's any questions about techniques, if there are any unclarities about what has passed in this meeting or previous meetings, that's the moment to ask your questions, and we'll try to answer them as best as possible.
So Siets, we had actually scheduled to have that next week. So just.
Oh, sorry, I'm mixing up dates.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's next week.
Yeah. Did you want to say more about that, Siets, or do you think that'll be enough for now? Because we're going to shape it till then. Yeah. Lovely. So it would be great if you do think about what questions that you'd like to bring to that session. So we will definitely have some open space for that. Yeah.
And as we started with these sessions, we thought, well, it might be a nice way to introduce people to moving questions, to Sarah's work, to experiencing our joint energy. And by the end of it, we will make an offer for a training or something like that. And then as we proceeded with these check-ins, both of us were like, no, we don't want to do a training. In a way, it doesn't feel proper to do a training. And yet we do feel that there's something we have to give to you, that we have some value to you, and that these sessions are valuable. So we were just, discussing what can we offer that has lots of value and that might be very interesting and contributes to spreading the systemic intelligence using both sides of the world. Because we've experienced a couple of times how powerful it is to be on opposite side of the world, and that in a way it creates a whole different field. So we've come up with an idea. I don't know, Sarah, do you want to explain a little bit about the idea, or you want me to do it? So just, we haven't completely worked it. Yeah,
we'll say more next time, but just to give you an idea, the intent was that we would have a group of 10 to 12 people. It would be a closed group, so it's a constant group the same, and that would go for perhaps 6 or 8 sessions. And we would continue in a very similar style and potentially shape that a little bit more for who is the group and what they would want from the sessions. So that's our inspiration today, and we'll create space to have a conversation about that next time, and we'll have another inspiration by next week for sure.
Definitely.
Could I just ask, is it going to be half an hour or a bit longer?
It'll be an hour. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
It'll be an hour. Yeah. Trying to make it, not too demanding, but rich enough to get a little bit more than you do in the half hour. Yeah. So we wish you well in your week, and we look forward to seeing you next Monday, and have the delightful pleasure of letting information come to you and flow through you, and the joy of just noticing what you notice. So we'll see you next Monday.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.